It's time to follow up on one of the cards that we tested early. It's Falinks V. Welcome back everyone to more from the Sableyes. I'm Mitch and today we're going to be taking a look at Falinks, a deck that we took a look at before the release of Rebel Clash, and now we're going to go back and maybe make some refinements and take it out onto the ladder on PDCGO to see whether or not this deck can still stand up to the big boys. With Pikarom being a big threat on the ladder right now, this could potentially be a reasonably cheap go-to deck to get yourself a few free wins, but we'll take a look at the list in just a second. If you haven't already, consider subscribing. We've had a big influx of new subscribers recently. We'd love to see you hit that subscribe button if you are interested in the stuff that we're putting out, as well as liking these videos. It means that more people get a chance to see them. Anyway, without further groveling, we will take a look at the list. So we will focus here on Falinks V to start us off. Iron Defense Formation is a really cool ability that Falinks has that means that all of our Pokemon that have Falinks in their name take 20 less damage. So if we have 4 Falinks V in play, that means that all of our Falinks are going to take 80 less. This Pokemon with 160 HP effectively has 240 if we have Falinks V in play. So that's a big plus. Giga Impact for 210 is an acceptable attack, but it's not the one that we're going to try and get the most value out of. Us personally, we're going to be taking a look at the baby Falinks with Team Attack, 30 damage times the number of Falinks that you have on your bench. So that's 3 times 5, 150. That seems more than reasonable. We can potentially do a large number of damage. We're only giving up 1 prize, and that's if our opponent can take a knockout, because remember, we can potentially get up to an extra 80 effective HP on this 1 prize attacker. It means instead of having 90, we really have 170 HP, which is that's pretty impressive when you think about it. There's a lot that needs to be done to take a knockout on a Pokemon with 170 HP, and if you're only taking 1 prize, then it's really not that worth it. We also have Team Attack on this Falinks, so worst case scenario, we can set up a couple of other Phalinkses on the bench, and that should do enough to get us into the mid to late game with a big board setup with lots of Falinks floating around. So that is pretty much all the Pokemon. Worst case scenario, if we do need some extra damage, we've got Diancie. The good thing about Diancie is that even though it reduces the damage technically of the baby Falinks, it actually increases the damage of Falinks V up to 230, which is a really important number to be able to hit. It's going to be able to knock out a Zacian, as opposed to Giga Impact, which would be a couple of damage short. So we want to make sure that we can get there. If we can power up Falinks V, that would be great. The rest of the list is not too different to the one that we took a look at early on, but there are some significant changes, so it is worth taking a look at it. We've got Acro Bike to try and move through the deck quickly, and obviously Quick Ball because we want to find those Pokemon really early. We've still got Bede in the deck. We've got 2 copies here to be able to accelerate fighting energy. We've got 6 of those as well. So if we do find ourselves in an awkward situation, we can always power up our Falinks from nothing. And we also have Counter Gain here to allow us to attack with baby Falinks and Falinks V a little bit easier than just manually attaching, which could be pretty good. Martial Arts Dojo is also a big card for this deck. If we get this stadium in play, we've got 3 copies of it, so I hope we'd see it. We can do an extra 10 damage for our fighting Pokemon, which can sometimes be enough, but when we're behind on prizes, our fighting Pokemon are going to do an extra 40 damage, which means that if we're attacking with that big Falinks again, instead of doing 210, we're doing 250, plus the Diancie is 270. That seems like a pretty solid number to be hitting. 270 will take a knockout in one shot on most VMAX, and not most VMAX, sorry, most Tag Team GX Pokemon. Only ADP will survive there. Also, Team Attack then gets that little bit of an extra boost with the Stadium. We can potentially go from 150 to 190, and now we're starting to take some knockouts on some Vs and some, basic GXs, I guess we could call them, like, you know, there's stuff floating around. Anyway, let's move past it, because I'm stumbling over my words again. Here is the list. There's not a lot more realistically to talk through. Sonia's a cool card. We could talk about that and be able to search up to 2 basic Pokemon or 2 basic energy. That can be super clutch for this deck, since sometimes we just need to find more Falinks. So that can be very, very strong. What we'll do is we'll take this one out onto the ladder, and we'll see if we can't get a game with it. Yet again, we will jump over to one of our friends of the channel, Stefan, who is going to be playing this one in the background, and we will take a look at Falinks in action. Alright, it's game time here. We have got Falinks in, ready to go. This is a weird intro to this particular part of the video, but it's fine, we're going to keep going. We've won the coin flip, and so we are likely going to be choosing to go first, although it is interesting because we can attack turn 1 if things go well. This is a weird hand, but since we're going first, it shouldn't be too big of a deal. We've got Falinks in the active, of course we do. We've got pretty much only Falinks in the entire deck, and we've got a second one that we can chuck down onto the bench as well. That seems pretty strong. We've got the first turn here. Ordinary Rod's not a great card for us, but we've got 2 Acro Bikes, so we can take a look here. This is an interesting choice, actually. You'd think that Boss's Orders could potentially be pretty strong, but that Capture Energy is tempting. We'll grab the Switch here, and then we will attach to the active, and that's probably going to be pretty much all that we can realistically do. I'm not sure what our opponent's playing here. It looks like they've got Zapdos and Jirachi, so it could be Zap Beasts, which has been doing the rounds recently, or it could be Pikarom, and if it's Pikarom, then I would think we're in for a really solid showing here. The biggest problem that we're going to have is that we aren't going to be able to set up any more of our Falinks unless we are able to find something like a Sonia. We need to find a couple of Quick Ball, which would be very awkward, and I'd really like to see some of those V Falinks come down pretty quickly, because it looks like our opponent here is ready to take a knockout, and this is really painful for us. Not only do we lose the Falinks, but we lose the energy attachment as well, so we are not looking good, although, you know, there's still an opportunity if we can find ourselves a supporter off of this top deck. It's a real shame that those Acro Bikes didn't come up a little bit better for us. Worst case scenario, we will just have to scrap this recording and we'll go to another one. But for the moment, I'm thinking we should be fine as long as we can get a supporter. It's got something in my eye. I must be very upset about this start. Unbelievable. But that's okay. Yeah, the Thunderous Assault's going to take the knockout. It's really annoying that they got that Vitality Band as well, because normally this attack would only do 80, but because they've got the Vitality Band, they can do that extra damage, and it might actually just be the theme deck here that we're going up against. The Pikarom theme deck, I know, does have Zapdos. It has the Vitality Band as well, so that's a very interesting one. We'll use Ordinary Rod here to shuffle the Falinks back in, because we did get Marnie off of the top deck, so we are going to be able to shuffle our hand and place it at the bottom of the deck and grab some more cards. This is kind of average, but we do have Twin Energy and we've got a little Falinks. So what we'll do is we'll call for family, we'll grab 2 of the big Falinks Vs, chuck them onto the bench, and then next turn, if our active Falinks is alive, we can attach the Fighting Energy. If it's not, we can attach the Twin Energy to the one on the bench. And yes, it is going to be Pikarom here, so we could be in a pretty good spot, especially if this is the League Battle deck, which has seen quite a lot of play recently. If you are interested in improving your Pikarom League Battle deck, then there will be a little message in the top right hand corner of the screen that can you can check out and take yourself over to that video. Have a look. It looks like it might be it, because they've got the Dance of the Ancients going off here. They've got the Air Balloon in the active, so you'd probably prefer to have something else. But that's okay, you can live with it. They're going to Dance of the Ancients, they'll be able to put some energy onto Pikarom and probably Raichu. But they won't be able to do too much more, and so the Stellar Wish here will pretty much lock them into the active unless they can find themselves a Miracle here. They're grabbing Marnie off of the top, so that's a reasonable card. And I guess, you know, they're just going to have to play it, which is fair enough. It's kind of annoying because we had everything that we needed. But we've got Bede, Boss's Orders, Quick Ball. If we drop an energy here, we could potentially gust up this Pikarom. Ooh, that's tasty. Because we've got Boss's Orders, we can attach to the active, we can Quick Ball one of these cards away, find ourselves another Falinks, maybe another V potentially, or the Team Attack one if we're feeling a little bit more risky. Chuck this Falinks V down, we can Boss's Orders up this Pikarom if we'd like. I think this is pretty strong. We can just Team Attack, take the knockout. We're actually doing 240 damage exactly here. 3 prizes for us. There's another Falinks V and another energy as well. The best bit about this is, next turn, surprisingly enough, if everything goes well, we could just win the game. We've got Boss's Orders, we've got another Falinks. All we need is to gust that Raichu and Raichu, and that's game over. How easy is that? So if you're expecting to see Pikarom on the ladder, which you should be, it's winning tournaments and it's getting cheap, good decks, then definitely consider Falinks, because, you know, we could easily come away with a win. Oh, but we're getting reset stamped here, so we won't be able to just win straight away. We're going to need to work for it a little bit. We've got Sonia on the bench, and Sonia in the hand, sorry, and another Falinks, so we can find some basic energy and start powering our baby Falinks up a little bit. We could potentially put the Diancie down, but I think it's going to be better to just play down the extra Falinks. We get the boosted damage. We should be A-okay from here. So yeah, we're looking pretty good. They're grabbing out another Pikachu and Zekrom, and fair enough too, because that's one of the ways that they can accelerate in this deck. But without the ability to turn off the weakness from that Pikachu Zekrom, it is going to be really tough for them to be able to get back into this game. And a couple of lucky draws means that we are straight away right into this one. They're grabbing Tag Switch here. They could potentially use that to attach those two energy from the Raichu onto the Pikarom, which is a pretty solid play. If they've got an energy in hand, they could potentially attach that and then switch from the Jirachi into the Pikarom and start powering some stuff up. That would be super annoying, because then we'd have to find Twin Energy to start attacking, but it doesn't look like that's happening. And instead, we're going to be able to... We've got a lot of stuff we can do here. We can play Martial Arts Dojo, we can play Falinks, we can play Sonia, grab some fighting energy and start powering up one of our attackers. We'll just have to settle for taking one prize this turn. So we're going to grab two of our Phalinkses here. Probably should have grabbed the energy, just FYI, if in the future, if you're watching this one, Stefan. So we could have powered up a Falinks here, but we are choosing instead to guarantee that our Falinks could survive. And look at that, we just sacked the Twin Energy off the top anyway. So I can't complain about that. Our baby Falinks does survive with those 4 Falinks V, so it was not a terrible play, but I probably would have gone for the energy because I'm that's the type of guy I am. Anyway, Pikachu Zekrom coming into the active here. Not only are we going to be able to get a one-shot knockout on this Pikarom, but it is not going to be able to knock us out. I'm feeling pretty solid about that. That seems like a reasonable thing for us to be doing. Doesn't matter that they're using research here. Pretty much nothing else in this game is going to matter. They're going to Flare Blitz, they're going to miss the knockout, and then we're going to return, or they're going to go for the GX, take a prize, and then we can get the knockout with the Twin Energy anyway. So there's the tag bolt that they do have to use. Damage decreased to 120, which is ridiculous. But we've got everything that we need. So we can just promote the baby Falinks here. We can chuck down Falinks, we can chuck down Martial Arts Dojo, and we can attach the Twin Energy and Team Attack for the maximum amount of damage that you could possibly do. 300 with 5 of your Falinks on the bench. That's a pretty comprehensive win. So there you go, Falinks can do the job, especially when you've got weakness on your side, and I'll throw it out there. This is probably not a bad one to invest in right now, because Pikarom is big now, and Eternatus, which has obviously been revealed from our next set, is also going to be a big fighting weak Pokemon. So definitely worth considering looking into Falinks V, because you could very, very easily see this deck sneaking some wins at some big tournaments in the future purely because of weakness. So definitely worth investigating. Thank you very much for coming along and checking out this one for us today. We always appreciate your company. If you haven't already subscribed, then please consider doing so. Click the button that's just about here. Over on this side are some videos that YouTube thinks you'll like, as well as a playlist down the bottom for more of our Rebel Clash deck profiles and gameplay. You can check out our Facebook and our Twitter at Sableyes_YT. We're getting a bunch of interaction over there, so come and have a chat. And apart from that, we will see you all next time for more from the Sableyes. Bye.